Hi. Okay, I don't usually come on here and just talk to you, so please bear with me. But I need to clear some stuff up. So I was sent this YouTube video last night. It was posted by Appalachian Storyteller, and the last that I looked, it had over 43,000 views. It is a documentary of a man named Homer Davenport. Homer Davenport was my great-grandfather. I call him my grandpa because his son, my grandpa Dusty, died before I was born. And so Homer is the only grandpa that I ever actually got to know on my mom's side of the family. He was kind of well known. I'll get into that in a minute. And this documentary talks about his life, but it is just packed full of false information. His comments under it are just full of false information. And I don't want to say that they're getting deleted, but the comments that I have posted trying to correct some of it are disappearing. My mom can't find them. My aunt can't find them. Somebody else commented trying to correct something, and that comment doesn't appear now. And this Appalachian Storyteller account, which I tagged his TikTok in the caption, is getting views and probably profits off of a story about my grandfather that he has fictionalized. So I wanted to come on here and tell you a little bit about my grandfather and what this documentary has wrong. So Homer was born in 1912. This documentary says 1910, which isn't a big deal, but we remember it because that's the same year that the Titanic sank. He was 2 years old when his mom died, and he did not go live with his grandmother. His dad remarried, and as far as anybody in my family remembers, he loved his stepmom. So when he was younger, he did shoot and kill a man. But this documentary makes it sound like the neighbor was a jealous husband, so that implying that my grandfather had something going on with this guy's wife, and that's not true. The neighbor was encroaching on Homer's wife, my great-grandma. This was all in the newspapers. I have digital copies of them. They actually posted letters between my great-grandmother and the neighbor in the newspaper. So anyways, my grandfather shot him. He killed him. My grandfather went to prison. And he lived up in this cabin on the mountain without electricity and running water. And he was pretty well known locally as this hermit mountain man that didn't have much to do with anyone. At one point, this guy came walking through and met him, spent a few days with him, and later wrote about him in his book. That guy was Peter Jenkins, and the book is called A Walk Across America. After that, my grandfather Homer was in the 1977, April 1977 issue of National Geographic. I think he was also in things like the Chicago Tribune, Reader's Digest, things like that. So that part is true. He was a mountain man, hermit guy that lived up there, didn't have much to do with anybody. He didn't live there alone, or I wouldn't exist. He had a wife. He had 6 children. He had grandchildren, great-grandchildren, great-great-grandchildren that he never got to meet because he died. He lived for a long time. He was 91 when he died. At one point when he lived up at that cabin that they're talking about, a log rolled over and broke his leg. And my grandpa, Dusty, who I am named after, and my grandmother, Ruth, and their children, so my mom, my 2 aunts, and my uncle, they moved up to that cabin to take care of the livestock. And Homer moved down to this farm in Poor Valley. Somebody commented on the video and said, well, what happened to his land? And the YouTuber said, it's all public now. That's not true. My family still very much owns that land. So my grandpa Dusty and my grandmother Ruth have the absolute best love story, book-worthy love story that I would love to write one day. Until then, you can read what my grandmother wrote about it here. So sweet. She's the best human being on the planet. But yeah, after his leg broke, he moved down to that farm. That farm still exists. I have lived there. It's definitely not public land. My grandfather didn't shoot a man because he wanted to steal his wife or anything like that. He didn't live alone for 60 some years. He had a family. The cabin was not 10 miles from the nearest road or town. It was about 3 miles up to the cabin. I've hiked it with my family. It was not a great hike, but I've hiked it. And I'm really proud of my family history. You know, it's not great that he killed a guy, but he was like a really fascinating man. And I was young when he died, but I remember him. I have fond memories of him. And I don't want, I'm okay with people telling his story. I'm okay with him being well known. My grandpa liked his little 15 minutes of fame. He'd probably be getting an absolute kick out of this. But he was a real person. He had a real family. He's got a real legacy. And if you're going to tell a story about him, I want it to be the true story, not this exaggerated, fictionalized telling for you to get views and you to make profits off of what is a very real story for my family. I've tried correcting it politely and giving you accurate information and photos and newspaper clippings, and it was ignored. So now I made this TikTok. But that's my grandpa. He's great.